This year in the United States, approximately $25 billion will be spent for Mother's Day. Gifts, cards, chocolates, flowers. And the fact is that if we used that money that was spent on Mother's Day, you could educate the 60 million girls that are currently not receiving primary education. With this knowledge, and after reading the book Half the Sky, Eva Hausman and Kim Hausman Athan started what they call the Mother's Day movement to provide support to mothers and children by partnering with charities that focus on improving their lives, their education, their safety. The story is amazing, inspiring. I really think that it's an important story, and I hope that you will all listen and enjoy it. My name is Wendy Green, and I am your host for Hey Boomer. Hello, Hey Boomer listeners. We are in for a great show today, and I want to talk about Mother's Day a little bit. So we're celebrating Mother's Day this year on Sunday, May 9th. And because I am curious, I decided to look up some history of Mother's Day. So here is what I found. In the years before the Civil War, Anna Reeves Jarvis of West Virginia helped start what she called Mother's Day work clubs. And these were organizations to help mothers properly care for their children. And then in 1868, after the war, she organized Mother's Friendship Day. And that was where mothers gathered with former Union and Confederate soldiers to promote reconciliation. Pretty cool. Another precursor to Mother's Day came from the abolitionist and suffragist Julia Ward Howe. In 1870, she wrote the Mother's Day Proclamation as a call to action to ask mothers to unite in promoting peace. The official Mother's Day holiday was actually initiated by Anna Jarvis, who is the daughter of Anna Reeves Jarvis. She got the backing of a Philadelphia department store to create a celebration to honor the sacrifices of mothers for their children. And then she started this letter writing campaign to all of the politicians that she could contact in Washington, asking them to add Mother's Day as a celebration to the national calendar. And in 1914, Woodrow Wilson signed the measure establishing the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day. But interestingly, once the holiday was officially on the calendar, Anna Reeves started to dislike it very much because of how commercialized it became. So our guests today have started the Mother's Day movement, and this is much more in line with the early ideas of helping mothers, caring for children, providing education, and possibilities to mothers and children around the world. It's an inspiring story and an inspired movement, and I cannot wait to introduce you to them. But first, I want to thank the sponsors that are supporting Hey Boomer and making this possible. Our first sponsor is David Bell, and he is a singer-songwriter based in Greenwood, South Carolina. His music is inspired by country artists and covers topics from lost love, doctor's orders, and gun control. He recently released his second recording, Waiting for the Setting Sun, and it is available to download at davidbellcd@gmail.com or davidbellcd.com. I am sure you will enjoy his songs as much as I do. And the second sponsor is Bond Personal Security app. So I just downloaded that this weekend, and they are offering a free trial to Hey Boomer listeners. It's designed to help you feel safer when you're traveling to an unfamiliar place, walking alone, receiving a delivery at home, or meeting someone for the first time. It also could give you peace of mind by knowing that your children or your grandchildren have access to a security companion on their phone 24/7 who can help them when they face uncomfortable situations at school, work, or in their daily social life. So Bond offers the first of its kind professional grade personalized security services with a live 24/7 personal security agent. You can get the free month trial without having to enter any credit card information by going to ourbond.com or loading the app from the App Store, and then enter Bond Boomer free trial at the checkout. This week is the last week for you to register for our forest bathing event, which is on May 4th, a week from tomorrow. I have put the link into the comments, so you should be able to find it there. It's also under events on our Facebook page. And yes, Kathy, that's the app, ourbond.com. Yep. So please, if you are considering going, go ahead and sign up now, because we are going to be closing registrations for forest bathing here, by the end of this week. And share this with your friends. Go and comment in our comment box. I see Ann and Kathy have both said hello, so we're glad to see you guys out there. And subscribe to the blogs. So subscribe to the Facebook page, subscribe to the blogs, follow, and talk to us. And with that, I am bringing on our guests, Eva and Kim. And I'm so glad to see you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thrilled. So let me tell the audience a little bit about you before we get started.
Okay.
So these ladies have multiple accomplishments. And more than that, you will be able to tell that they are passionate about making a difference and about being of service. I'm going to keep their introductions brief, so please forgive me, Kim and Eva. I will have to leave some things out because there's just too much wonderful things to say about you. So let's start with Kim. Kim was raised in Simsbury, Connecticut. She received a Bachelor's of Art from Lehigh University and an MBA from Fordham University. She works with Pathways, a local organization serving the mentally ill. She has served as the PTA treasurer and volunteers with a food pantry. She serves on the regional board of the Anti-Defamation League. And along with her parents, Eva and Erwin, Kim was the recipient of the Anti-Defamation League's Daniel Ginsburg Humanitarian Award. Kim is married to Tom, and they have 2 children, Drew and Katie. And Eva has been a social entrepreneur long before there was even a name for it. For most of her adult life, she has attempted to inspire others to do projects that make a difference for people in the world. Eva taught social studies for 31 years at the junior and senior high school level, and she encouraged her students every year to study a topic and then do a Make a Difference project. Eva has also been involved in the Anti-Defamation League, serving as a faculty advisor, trainer, and on the board for the state of Connecticut. In 2003, she received the Citizen of the Year Award from the Simsbury, Connecticut Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion. She was honored by the Greenberg Center of the University of Hartford for her work in Holocaust education. And in 2009, after reading Half the Sky, Eva created her own Make a Difference project, which led to the founding of the Mother's Day movement. So Eva, Kim, you are amazing women. Is there anything that I've left out that you'd like to add?
Thank you for having us. I really appreciate this, Wendy.
Oh, I'm so excited. So Eva, if you will start, and you taught, like I said, social studies, you had them come up with a Make a Difference project. Then you read this book, Half the Sky, and you decided to make a difference yourself. Would you talk to us a little bit about how that came about?
Thank you. I don't know if either of you have ever read an article or a book that changed your life, but about 12 years ago, I actually read an article in the New York Times Magazine about the upcoming book, Half the Sky, by Nicholas Kristof and Cheryl Wooden. I was so overwhelmed by the message of the book, which is that the oppression of women primarily in the developing world is largely unnoticed and under-recognized, and that a moral and political movement really needs to start to end the oppression that is prevalent. And what they said was that this century should be like the 19th century, where we ended slavery, and that the focus needs to be that impactful to end the oppression of women. I was so moved by the article that I made 25 or 40 copies, and I lived in a town that I, as you said, taught in, and I kind of knew everybody. So wherever I went, I invited people to come and read this article and come to my house. Serendipitously, that day, Cheryl Wooden and Nicholas Kristof were on the Oprah show. And a friend called and said, tape Oprah and use it at your meeting tonight. We had a wonderful discussion. A women's group was formed that did some impactful work. And then probably a half a year later, I read the book. And the book chronicles the stories of so many incidents of oppression, but one just hit me in the gut. And it was about a woman who had a fistula, which is an obstetric medical condition that I learned could be cured by a minor surgery of, I think, $450. And that woman, because the society did not understand what was happening to her, she was put in a hut where the hyenas attacked her. She was shamed. And I just said, I've got to do something. I had never heard of a fistula. A fistula surgery is not necessary in this country. We don't have that. But I learned of the Fistula Foundation in California, and I asked friends and family to send me $20. And I raised $5,000. And again, serendipitously at the gym, I met a woman whose sister was the head of the foundation. And that sister provided a $5,000 grant. And so that first year, I raised $10,000 for the Fistula Foundation. And it occurred to me that I had done, that Nick and Cheryl had inspired me to do what I had required my students to do, which was study something and go out and make a difference about it. that was done in a senior level contemporary issues class. And an example was one of the young women studied homelessness. She got hundreds of kids to come and do a march and contribute money and helped at a homeless shelter. So I decided that I would share what I had done with Nick Kristof and Cheryl Wudun. And again, serendipitously, Kim called me and said, "Mom, you have to come to Greenwich. Cheryl Wudun's going to be speaking at a Planned Parenthood event, and you can give her your letter." And that's what I did. And Kim, why don't you take it from there?
Yeah, this is great so far. Yes. So congratulations on the 10,000 in the beginning. And yes, Kim, so how did you get involved also in this project?
So on my mom's recommendation, I brought the book Half the Sky to my book club. And like Nick and Cheryl inspired my mom, that is sort of the point of the book. They go through stories upon stories of the oppression of women and how women hold up half the sky. Women are 50% of the world. And if we elevate women, we elevate societies, small villages all the way through, large communities. So at the end of the book, after reading about all these women who have triumphed over incredible hardship, it says to you, the authors say, okay, now that you've read this book, what are you going to do? So as a group, we were trying to think of something to do. We really wanted to, it was so moving. And then, as my mom said, we went to this Planned Parenthood event. We met Cheryl Wudun. She gave her a letter. "Please give this for you and your husband. I want you to know how much you inspired me. I raised $10,000 for the Fistula Foundation. And I just want you to know how much you inspired me." So fast forward to Mother's Day that year, May of 2010, we opened up the New York Times to Nicholas Kristof's column, which we all read religiously. And we start reading about Mother's Day. And it was so interesting, Wendy, what you were saying. We did know about some of that history about Mother's Day and how it's changed to being so commercial. We all know that. The world knows that. What we learned in that article is that $14 billion with a B was spent on Mother's Day at that time in 2010. It is up to 25 billion now.
25 billion.
And so he writes 14 billion is spent. That's enough to educate all 60 million girls currently not receiving a primary education in the world. I mean, it was stunning. Everything was stunning about it. And he said in that article, and I'll quote him, he says, "But let's also think about moving the apostrophe so that it becomes not just Mother's Day, apostrophe S, honoring a single mother, but Mother's Day, S apostrophe, an occasion to try to help mothers around the globe as well." And we were reading this, and it just was resonating so much with us. And then we get to the bottom of the article, the column, and there he writes about Eva Hausman, a woman from Connecticut who did a fundraiser for Fistula, and how there she was. She was there in the New York Times, and we said, "This is it. This was our aha moment." We, as mothers, we were going to take Mother's Day back. We were going to redefine it and make it about all mothers in the world in need, and not just about our mothers and our sisters and our friends, but just ask people to rethink it and donate a piece of their Mother's Day budget to a charity. And we decided we were going to choose a charity every year, and that's where we started. And
Yeah, it's such an incredible story. And Eva, did you know Nicholas Kristof at that point when your name showed up in the paper?
No. Well, I read him.
You read his book, but you didn't know him.
No.
So have you met him since then?
Yes. Actually, we met him that first year. The Harriet Beecher Stowe Center in Hartford honored Nick and Cheryl for their Pulitzer Prize winning book, Half the Sky, gave them a humanitarian award. And I was actually asked to serve on a panel with them that year. So that was the first time we met them. And we've met them several times since. And I'm able to communicate with him by email. It's remarkable because he has millions of followers, but he answers me very quickly. He is the father of the movement.
Of the Mother's Day movement?
I think of him as the father of the Mother's Day movement. I think of our beneficiaries as our children.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we're the mothers.
You're the mothers. So the fistula.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the fistula charity that you supported, that was outside. That was before you actually had the Mother's Day movement. So now you come together with Kim and some of her book club people, and you decide we're going to do this. So tell me about the first charity that y'all decided to support as the Mother's Day movement.
Kim's going to talk about it, but I just want to add something. Kim, she doesn't perhaps remember her words, but when we read the article, Kim turned to me and said, "Mom, we need to do more." And our first charity, we had I'll begin. We had a connection at Wesleyan University, and a young woman went over to Kibera in Africa and met a young man who became a true community activist. Kim, would you tell them about Shining Hope?
Sure. I just want to just mention quickly about when we started. The plan was to pick a charity every year, and each donation, if you make a donation, you get a card, a Mother's Day card. So we've stuck with this plan all along. So if you make a donation, you get a Mother's Day card sent to your honoree. And what makes us, another thing that makes us special is that we don't touch any money. All the money goes directly to our selected charity. We are just really a bunch of volunteers, and it's not just the two of us. There are 3 other people. There were 4, and working very hard as volunteers to do this work, just to try to raise money for a particular charity every year. So that first charity was called Shining Hope for Communities. And they are started by an amazing man in Kibera. Kibera is a slum in Nairobi. And it's one of the biggest slums in the world. And fortunately, I was able to go there 2 years ago with my family and finally see the place where that was our first beneficiary. But the story is of this man named Kennedy who grew up in the slum, very, very hard life. He had a sister who was sexually assaulted, his mother, single mother, trying to raise them. And such a special person, he realized if you educate girls in particular, again, it goes with the Half the Sky theme, you will elevate families and you'll elevate communities. He was joined by this woman, Jessica, who was from Wesleyan University and went over to Kibera to do a junior year abroad and insisted upon living in the slum to learn really what was going on. Nobody had ever done that. Kennedy said nobody had ever done that. You live in a hotel outside the slum. But no, she insisted on living in the slum, learning about it. And together they have built this incredible charity. And their story is really inspiring. And we helped that first year when we did our campaign. Again, Nicholas Kristof came to us. We said to him, we started this Mother's Day movement in honor of you. And he said, that's amazing. And on Mother's Day, 4 days before Mother's Day, 2011, that first year, he wrote about us again. And the power of his words is incredible. He wrote that column and he raised $250,000 for 2 charities, Fistula Foundation and Mother's Day Movement for Shining Hope for Communities. A column he wrote on a Thursday, they raised between those 2 charities $250,000 by Sunday.
Wow.
And we just we were launched, and we were just so happy. So with that money, Shining Hope for Communities built a school. They built a 16-room school.
That's
and
great.
it was really, it was a dream come true for us. There was beyond our wildest expectations. So because I was able to go there, I now know that 16 rooms was not going to be big enough. And now they have about a 6-story school that has hundreds of girls in it. And these girls 100% pass their state exams. They all go on to high school, and a lot of them go to college, some of them even here. And they are the girls that are taken from families where they are at risk, and they are specifically girls at risk, and they turn them into students and proud young women who want to go back to Kenya and Nairobi and make change in their own community. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, so inspiring. And
Kennedy and Jessica are married and have a child. And recently they found a child in a dumpster, and they kept that child. They're extra beyond.
Yeah, I read the book after you guys, we met and you told me about it, and it's not a comfortable book to read. I mean, you read some really horrible stories, and the fact that you took this on, you saw the opportunity and then you ran with it is so inspiring. And I'm just curious, was there ever she goes, was there ever a doubt, or was there ever moments when you thought, what are we thinking? This is crazy. There's no way we can do this.
Well, I thought $10,000 was an accomplishment, and
it was.
And now we've raised about $700,000 in the first 10 years. And we've helped a lot of different charities with different agendas. Should I tell you that?
Well, I do want to know about them. I want to know how you pick your charities, because it's interesting. You're not a 501c3. You just raise money. You're a volunteer organization to raise money. So how do you pick your charities, and what have you supported over the 10 years?
One of the words I use for us is we're kind of a conduit or a pass-through. Mm-hmm. And one of the things we'd like to emphasize to donors who may be listening is, again, that they go to the Mother's Day Movement website, but donate to Dig Deep this year. Donate to what we call our beneficiaries, our children. This is not in chronological order. What I did was I put it by concept. Of the 10 charities we've done prior to this year, 5 related to maternal health. And one that I find fascinating, it was We Care Solar, which was started by a gynecologist who was volunteering in Africa and realized that she couldn't operate because there was no light. So she and her husband designed what's called the solar suitcase that can be installed, quickly, and provides the electricity and the light that they need to do a surgery or a fistula or
deliver a baby
or a cesarean. We did a charity that in this country called Nurse Family Partnership that provided maternal support pre and postnatal to women who might not have the opportunity to get the right information, educate them, and help them through the whole pre and postnatal process.
They stay with their a nurse that goes into a pregnant woman and helps her from prenatal vitamins to preparing for eventual delivery to reading to your child all the way through age 2. And it's all those things that not everybody has the good fortune to have a great mother as I did to tell me how to do all that. And really their success rate with children reading and everything is amazing. So we love to see, and that's one of the criteria is what are your results? It's something we study when we are choosing our charities.
Mm-hmm.
Another one of our maternal health care charities provide hemorrhage kits and, Kim, what was the other? I'm sorry, hemorrhage and?
It's called Saving Mothers. It's an organization that operates in Africa and in Central America and Guatemala. Also started by a gynecologist from New York City who is an incredible woman. Mm-hmm. And they train, a lot of women give birth with traditional birth attendants. They don't go to the hospital like we do here. They're traditional birth attendants. They give birth at home. So training those women to identify really when problems are occurring with the birth is key. And, a birthing kit, $25, can prevent infection, prevent hemorrhage, all these things that, and as my mom and I were talking about this, so many of these women die in childbirth. And that results in the child and the children from prior children having really no hope, right? If you lose your mother, it's worst. So, keeping these mothers alive to care for their children is so key. And they've done an amazing job of training all these attendants to identify problems ahead of time, prevent fistulas, prevent death. Every one of our children is amazing.
It sounds like it. Yeah. So do you hear about these charities? Do they reach out to you? Do you find them? How do you go about identifying who you're going to work with each year?
All of the above. We have a process where we try to look for relatively small charities where $50,000 to $100,000 can really make a difference. I mean, for example, CARE or some of the big ones, our money would be a drop in the bucket to what they do. So finding a small charity that has the ability to co-brand with us and do the Mother's Day card is really a challenge. Where possible, we have tried to know the people, but that's been several of them. We've known people who have led us to charity. For example, this weekend when I was in Maryland, taking a walk with my other daughter, she introduced me to a woman who was with
Nothing
But Nets. And I have been interested in malaria for years for Mother's Day movement. I was never able to get a hold of anybody to talk to because they're affiliated. Most of the malaria organizations are affiliated with the UN. And it's very big. So perhaps one year we will go back to this woman who I met and who is sending me information now about her Nothing But Nets and talk with her. We research, we have an accountant as part of the team who looks at their financials. And so far we've been super, super lucky in being able to pick wonderful charities. This year, we actually saw, our family has always been in love with CBS Sunday Morning, the 9 to 10:30 show. Mm-hmm. And Dig Deep was on Sunday morning. And Kim watched it and I watched it. And we called each other and we said, let's look into them.
Okay, so Dig Deep is your charity this year.
This year.
Dig Deep. So,
Right.
okay, so tell us a little bit more about that
Well,
charity.
I'd like to tell you a little bit more about a few of the other topics we've done in the past besides maternal health care.
Oh, okay, yeah, for sure.
As you heard, building classrooms. We actually did a very interesting charity a couple of years ago called the Adhesia Nutrition, and they provide little packets of food to babies who are malnourished, and it's an extremely effective way. In a few weeks or a month, the children change from totally malnourished to healthy looking babies. They're actually out of Rhode Island, and we were able to visit their plant where they made the product, and that was very exciting. One year we did a organization called Free the Slaves. We did sex trafficking.
Mhm.
And another very sad story, but we felt like we were able to help some women by raising funds for them. And then we actually did a water charity in Africa, and that was a very personal and sad story for us. A friend of the family, the Hausman family, had a future son-in-law who started the charity in Africa, and subsequently he was in Afghanistan and was killed. And we did it. I'm sorry.
He was in the military.
He was in the military, and we did it after he passed away, right, Kim? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In his memory, and that was called Clearwater. And I think that's kind of a good segue to Dig Deep.
So do you want to tell us about Dig Deep, Kim?
Sure, I would love to. So this year, our beneficiary is called Dig Deep. And your listeners will probably be interested and floored to learn these statistics that there are over 2 million people in the United States that do not have running water. They do not have flush toilets. They have to go out and find their water, buy bottles, which is very difficult. And during COVID, even harder, because you can't really stay safe and you can't really stay home if you don't have water. You don't have running water. So we were really drawn to this charity. Another interesting statistic is that 44 million people in this country do not have clean drinking water. And this is in the United States. This is in Africa. It's truly a bit shameful. So we were really drawn to them, especially during COVID, where we were really drawn to we've done a lot of international beneficiaries charities, as my mom said, because your money really goes very far. Like we were able to build 16 school, classrooms in Kibera for $125,000. Well, we all know how far that would go here to build a school. So, but we just see the need here right now. We're very drawn to keeping our campaign in this country this year. And last year during COVID, we worked with a maternal health organization in Puerto Rico. So this year we are raising money for Dig Deep, and they build wells for people who don't have running water. And we are specifically focusing on the Navajo Nation, as they were hit extremely hard by COVID, high death rates, high infection rates. They have since really come back and things are going much better for them, but we have committed to the Navajo Nation for this year. And they can put in a full running water system for a Navajo family in 24 hours. So we want to raise as much money as we can to help build these running water systems. And just to see these children washing their hands and bathing, which you can see on our website, mothersdaymovement.org, or you can see on digdeep.org. it's really very powerful. And
So what is your goal for this year to be able to help them?
100,000.
100,000?
yeah, our goal is to raise $100,000. We're on our way.
And how many families will that help on the Navajo Nation?
That will help with a full system. That will help. Oh, I wasn't ready for this question, Wendy.
Sorry. Approximately.
It costs about $4,500 per system, full system.
Okay.
There are and on our website, you put up the URL, you can see for the different prices for different things, what a tap would cost, what a sink would cost, what the underground tank would cost. And so your viewers can go on there and look. But yes, $4,500 to bring a complete hot and cold running water system to a home on the Navajo Nation.
Which is so needed. I mean, there's no way that you can wash your hands and stay, like Kathy says, wash your hands, brush your teeth, take a shower, drink clean water.
Exactly. Cook.
Yeah. It's just shocking.
And their COVID rates were actually higher than New York City.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have had some amazing comments come through. So people have been sharing your URLs. People, they say, make a difference, read the book, serendipitous.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Kenya Connect says, so inspiring and important to the mamas around the world. Your support has made a profound difference in lifting women through empowered programs.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kathy highlights what you guys said about Nicholas Kristof being the father of the movement. Sharon can't wait to give again this year. I'm Jolly Lux, who also has do you know Jolly? She has a nonprofit.
Right.
The things we take for granted. She says, thank you for lifting the lives of women in need.
Hello, Jolly. Wow.
Oh, she's wonderful. Yeah. Barbara Segaloff says, listening to this program, amazing women, and special thank you for mentioning Clearwater. Dig Deep is fortunate to have you selecting them for 2021. Lots of love. A new one from Diane. I have the feeling this movement is only just beginning. So I always like to find out if there's 2 or 3 takeaways. Like if people want to get involved, if people want to make a difference, what would you say are 2 or 3 takeaways for people that are listening?
So women do hold up half the sky, and it's really important that this change, and that in the developing world, we still unfortunately have many, many problems, and that we're just average people. Anybody, young or old, can make change if they choose to. And you asked earlier about doubts. We all self-doubt at some point, but for this, I don't know. I guess, because the initial amount was $10,000. I guess I kind of felt like we could only go up from there. So there wasn't that much doubt that we could do better.
I think that, Wendy, we named this the Mother's Day movement because we want it to have a life of its own. We want your listeners and the people here and the people on our social media pages and people get our emails to go out and do their own I Make a Difference project to raise money for our charity. We would love each year, obviously, but for, if there's something that they're passionate about to do something. And we really would like people to go out and spread our website and get donations for Dig Deep. Not only is the Navajo, they don't only serve the Navajo Nation, there's increasing number of people without water access in Delaware, Idaho, Kansas, New Hampshire, Nevada, South Dakota, and Puerto Rico. So this is not just a little problem in this country, and Dig Deep is really at the forefront. And anybody who send an email to your friends and family, send an email to your coworkers, post us on social media, and let's get a lot of water for people who need it.
Yeah, let's do that. So instead of buying chocolates or flowers for your mom this year, or for your mother-in-law or whatever, donate some money to the Mother's Day movement to help bring clean water to this, in this situation, to the Navajo Nation. But Dig Deep, as Kim said, is going all over the country.
I'm not sure we said that when they make a donation, as small, any donation is fine. For each donation, a beautiful e-card will be sent to their honoree. So,
Okay.
A friend, a cousin, anybody, any woman they want to honor, and really tell that what they're doing for them will make a difference for another woman in the world.
I love that.
Wendy, can I share one final thing, and then I'll
Sure.
stop talking? But one of the things about that, it was also in Half the Sky, they talk about a starfish proverb. It's a Chinese proverb. And you asked about our goals and, how do we, is it hard to reach them and everything? So this proverb is something I think about all the time. So the proverb of the starfish is, there's a young boy on the beach, and there are starfish beached all up and down the sand. And he is picking them up, and he's throwing back one at a time. Keeps throwing them back. And an old man comes up along and says, "Boy, what are you doing?" He says, I'm saving the starfish. And he said, "But look, there's so many, you will not make a difference." And he says, "But I made a difference to that one." So our goals every year are just to make a difference as best we can in the lives of people that need us. And that is, so I think about that when I'm getting a little nervous or get a little down about our campaign, I always say, we're making a difference.
Right, to that one starfish. I love that story. Yeah. I've heard that before. It's a great story. Yeah. Well, thank you, Eva, Kim. You inspire me, and hopefully this brings in a lot for Dig Deep this year, and we will definitely be watching for y'all next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
So if you like what you're hearing on Hey Boomer, and you would like to support us with what we're trying to bring to the audience to inspire and motivate you, you can support us through the buymeacoffee.com/heyboomer0413. That's just a way to let us know that you are supporting us. And I want to thank our forest bathing sponsors again, David Bell with his CD. It actually should be davidbellcd.com, and the Bond app. So it's ourbond.com, where you can get a free trial for a month for Bond Boomer free trial, and find out how that would feel to have a security agent walking along with you whenever you need that extra bit of security. And I want to tell you about our guest for next week. So this is a very different show next week. Our guest's name is Honoria Da Silva Kilgore. And I ran across her because someone on LinkedIn had seen the show and referred me to her. She's a practicing attorney in Massachusetts, and she developed a passion for helping high school students and their parents navigate the circuitous path to college admission and college funding. And of course, I became interested in this because I have grandchildren that will be looking at this in another couple of years. And I remember myself when I had gone back to school, how challenging it was to find out all this information. And I can only imagine how much more complicated it's gotten now. So Honoria, she's passionate about the kids she works with. I mean, she really gets to know them and know what schools would fit them better and how to find the money. You're going to love her. And if you have children and grandchildren that are approaching that age, you really might want to get them to tune in. And if they can't tune in live, to watch later, because this will be very helpful. So ladies, I always like to end the show with a quote from C.S. Lewis. and remind people that he says, you are never too old to set another goal or dream a new dream. So thank you all for joining me, for setting goals, for dreaming dreams. I know life is busy, and I am so grateful to all of you for being part of this Hey Boomer show today and the movement going forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right. Hope to see you all soon. Bye.